someone found this on my subreddit, and I want to show this to you. This is this was my analysis of what is yet to come right before the 2020 election. There was like a 12-minute video from my final thoughts, like in the eve of the 2020 election. There was another instance where I was actually debating Destiny on how Trump is a successful Republican. This is one clip from that.
How do you justify so saying with Destiny, who obviously uses pettiness to determine?
What the f is this? No, that's not what I'm looking for. Hold on. Oh, here. Hasan on the rise of fascism back in 2020. Okay, there's two clips I want to show you. Okay. One is something that I've been talking about since January 23rd, 2019 here. Okay, where back in the day when I thought that Destiny was a reformed person who wasn't like insane. Okay, a lot of people will be like, "Why are you so afraid of debating him?" Here's a video of me doing just that.
Large care about more than the fucking corporation. You can just outsource your labor regardless for the big stuff like tax breaks, tax cuts for the corporations. These are things that they by and large care about more than the fucking corporation. You can just outsource your labor regardless for the, and that's what these companies have been doing for a very long time anyway. But again, things that like undermining the EPA, undermining the education, undermining housing, like these aren't things that like people are looking for. Not focusing on infrastructure, like these aren't things that his base wants. He's doing this for big business. He's doing this for corporate interests.
Maybe.
How can you say maybe? Who is the?
I don't know what like defunding education or whatever has to do with corporate interests.
I don't know why it's sped up. I don't know why. I don't think we're going to be able to actually pay attention to a clip like this because you guys are being too childish, I think. Like, Reddit player does not have speed controls. Chat represents the streamer. No, there's no way to make it slower. There's no right clicking, dude. What are you talking about? There's nothing.
Because if you defund education, all of a sudden you can make a justification not only for tax cuts, for further tax cuts, because every time it's called starving the beast. Every time you further undermine federal agency. Okay, so every time
this was his goal.
This is from a video. This is from a YouTube video of like my debate in 2019 with Destiny. Back when we were cordial, and my argument was that Donald Trump is a normal Republican and a very successful Republican. Okay, and that he is, doing the top line agenda of the Republican Party at the time. I just don't know where
afford to be a little bit customers because you know that you're not going to have as much.
I don't know exactly where it was though in this conversation.
The absolute bare minimum by like 1 or 2 votes in order for them to actually.
The Republican voter base. Hold on.
Oh,
a
here.
Republican figure that has been at ends with Trump multiple times. McConnell has been at ends with Trump multiple times. Like all of these like Republican leaders. Pence himself has gotten burned by Trump multiple times. Trump has had massive amounts of influx in his cabinet. And everybody that's left has had things to fucking say about him. Even well-respected people like Tillerson. How can you look at all the divisiveness that Trump has stirred up in the Republican Party and then say that no, he's actually like really good at unifying the Republicans?
I'm not saying he's good at unifying the Republican politicians, but ultimately he's good at unifying the Republican voter base. Hold on. He's good at unifying the Republican base of voters, and you're focusing on like one symbolistic John McCain vote to say that like the entire Republican Party is not backing Donald Trump, even though, oh my God, I want to murder every single person who's saying Hasan is out of his death. I want to murder them so hard right now in a video game. Okay.
Fucking ban him, dude.
All right. I can't. There's too many. All right. So I don't have enough money.
Not gonna lie, you sound so weird. Yeah, it's because I'm using a Blue Yeti. All right. Notice how like even in this conversation, Destiny's fans immediately rush to be like, "Oh, you're out of your depth," and I was 100% correct on this in this argument that I presented.
Moderators. All right. As far as the Republican Party goes, you say that the Republican Party is divided, yet they vote for 90% of the things that Donald Trump wants. So obviously they're not that divided. Obviously they're still serving the same interests.
That's such a one-dimensional way of looking at it. Of course,
Republicans. So what are they divided on? That like they don't like Donald Trump's perspective. Like they don't like the way that he talks. Sure, but that doesn't mean that the party's actually divided. The party is very happy because the donors are very happy.
If
the
all
party's
of them are
also
so happy, then
because
why is
they're
it that
electing.
so many districts that went so heavy for Trump ended up swaying Democrat when it came time to vote for the midterms? Like, there are tons of people in the Republican Party that have these massive issues with Trump, and his numbers and the candidates that he's backed for some of these elections did not turn out the numbers that they expected him to. It was a monumental failure for the House and even to some extent for some of the Senate races.
Yeah, because Donald Trump is very divisive in the sense that a lot of people who normally wouldn't have voted are now going out to vote against Donald Trump. This is not to say that like Republicans are like, oh my God, I feel terrible about voting for Donald Trump, so I'm going to turn around and actually vote for a Democrat. No, there's just more people voting Democrat that didn't vote or that don't historically vote in midterms. That's what this is. It has absolutely nothing to do with like Trump's policies or whatever. They just hate Donald Trump. There are a lot of Americans who find Donald Trump to be an incredibly divisive figure who's terrible, and they're right. They are absolutely right about Donald Trump being a divisive and terrible figure for American politics, and that's why they're going out and voting. That's why there was like unprecedented turnout.
All right.
And Republicans are not showing up because they're happy.
I feel like we're using like, this feels like Bernie math right now. Like, if Donald Trump goes out and the reason why less people went out to vote for Donald Trump was actually because Donald Trump was so good that people were so happy with him that they didn't go out and vote. I feel like we're in Bernie math.
Yeah, that's historically what happens with the party, in the party that holds majority power. Yes, for the base, that works well for the voters. But the big stuff like tax breaks, tax cuts for the corporations, these are things that they by and large care about more than the immigration. You can just outsource your labor regardless for the and that's what these companies have been doing for a very long time anyway. But again, things that like undermining the EPA, undermining the education, undermining housing, like these aren't things that like people are looking for. Not focusing on infrastructure, like these aren't things that his base wants. He's doing this for big business. He's doing this for corporate interests. Maybe. How can you say maybe? Who is the?
I don't know what like defunding education or whatever has to do with corporate interests. I can get with you on like the EPA and
because if you defund education, all of a sudden you can make a justification not only for tax cuts, for further tax cuts, because every time it's called starving the beast. Every time you further undermine a federal agency.
I know. You don't have to. Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
But like,
so every time
even if this was his goal, his way to do this wouldn't be nominating Betsy DeVos. It would be to do something more insidious. Like these aren't things.
Wait, no, Betsy DeVos is the perfect person. She has a track record of privatization in Michigan. She's like always been a advocate for private education. That's exactly what that's exactly why he put Betsy DeVos in a position of power, even though she's a idiot.
Okay. It just seemed like when I look at his appointments, like Betsy or like Ben Carson or whatever, it seems it's more just like random he sees on Fox.
No, dude, these aren't random. He's putting in positions of power, especially Betsy DeVos.
What about? Didn't he literally do this with like a Secretary of Defense or some shit? Who was the guy that he saw on Fox News that he made like one of his like chief attorneys or some shit? Or why the fuck is Giuliani working with him? Is it because Giuliani's actually like a really talented lawyer? Like he gets advice from this guy for like executive orders.
I know, but that has nothing to do. I know, but Giuliani. Yeah, no, Trump is a moron. I'm not sitting here and saying that.
Wait, stop! You keep playing both worlds. You can't tell me that Trump is a moron.
Isn't that what Trump's doing right now? To a certain degree, yes. He has gotten way worse at this than the last time around. But you will see exactly what I mean here, okay? You will understand in a second when I describe it. But then also say
Trump is actually intentionally choosing the best people to undermine these institutions. You keep.
Do you really think that Donald Trump is doing all of these on his own? Like I don't understand. Why can't Trump be a absolute moron but still be a strong man, charismatic leader that appeals to Republicans?
Wait, so who is controlling Trump now? Now that
it's not a control thing. Like there are still handlers, aides, advisors that are around Donald Trump that are trying to that are giving him the cabinet appointments. Like he can't just turn. He's not like turning around and saying. A lot of these used to come from Bannon, and then Bannon is gone now. So I don't know who's like the chief handler.
It was not Bannon.
Not just one person. It's not just like Steve Bannon isn't the only person capable of telling Donald Trump who to appoint for these positions.
Well, no, now he listens to Fox and Friends. And
no, it's not. Do you really think that Donald Trump exclusively sits in front of the television and like makes these decisions and now there aren't aides?
This was one of the huge...
This is such like liberal brain right here. And is like Donald Trump does not have anyone in his corner that's telling him like, these are the guys that you need to appoint. He's just sitting there and exclusively getting his nose from Fox and Friends. I'm not saying he's not getting it from Fox and Friends, but if you think that like he wasn't firmly doing exactly what the Heritage Foundation and the American Enterprise Institute was telling him to do, you're out of your dang mind. Okay?
That there are places, I'm sure that there are things that he does, like when he tweets
about passing a new budget. One of the biggest problems was that Pence walked to Congress and then came back to President Trump with a deal in hand that Trump already approved, but because he'd been listening to pundits on Fox News, he shot it down and sent Pence back to Congress telling them that they needed a new deal after Democrats and Republicans had already made concessions to each other to agree on legislation. Yeah, Trump.
These two things are not mutually exclusive. He does both. He does it when he sees something and gets riled up and he tweets it out, but he absolutely, when he's making when these bigger decisions are happening, like as far as cabinet appointees and there are absolutely other aides that give him the people that he's putting in positions of power. Do you really think that okay, let me ask you this much. As far as Supreme Court justices, how do you think Donald Trump chose? Do you think it was on Fox and Friends?
I am not sure. I don't know for the first couple.
He went to the Federalist Society, dude. Of course. Do you like this is how it works. You go to the Federalist Society.
Literally every single leak that has ever come from the White House, whether we're talking about the multiple books that have been written by that one guy, I should remember the name. It's like
no,
Burn
that
or
that guy's an idiot, dude. He's a known liar. He was embellishing half the shit. I know what you're talking about. What the fuck is his name?
Wait, you think that whole book was just fake shit?
No, not the whole book, but like there's plenty of fucking
you think
things.
Woodward? You think everything in there?
No,
was
not
like,
Woodward. No, not Woodward. Okay, we're talking about two different things then. I'm talking about what is Fire and Fury. Who wrote that?
Oh
shit?
yeah, that one might have been highly whatever the Woodward book was.
Oh my God! Even back then, I was having an issue with Bob Woodward versus Michael Wolff. Even back then, I was confusing Bob Woodward with Michael Wolff. That's so funny.
Yeah, Michael Wolff is ridiculous. Bob Woodward is not. Bob Woodward, a lot of the things that he said. No, Bob Woodward is reputable. And I'm not saying that I'm not saying that like the Trump administration isn't in chaos. But when it comes to like very important things, when it comes to cabinet appointees, or when it comes to things like Supreme Court justices, Trump is not that big of a moron. He still understands that he needs to adhere to specific guidelines put in front of him, and that's exactly what he's doing.
The Kavanaugh stuff was pretty iffy. I feel like they could have went with a much safer pick on that.
I mean, you personally think that, but at that point they had to double down. You think they didn't consider this? Like they shouldn't have went with
I don't
Kavanaugh.
know. Do you think they considered things heavily when they went with Roy Moore and they lost that seat in that special election or whatever in Alabama? I mean, no, it doesn't seem like they considered a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I think that was a Steve Bannon. That was a strategic mistake by Steve Bannon, and he got punished for it afterwards too.
Anyway, the point, what led to this, watching this VOD? Well, it's a twofer. One, for a lot of people who say like, Hasan, you never debated Destiny. There are plenty of debates that you can go back and listen to where I'm like trying to educate him on this stuff. You will also see my consistency on the matter, and you will see how wrong he was and how libbed up he was. Okay. Yeah, this has literally 70,000 views from 2019, you know? But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, the reason why I pointed to this is because I wanted you to see that how Donald Trump still maintains support from the institutional Republican Party. Okay? This isn't even the best debate of yours. Probably not, but it doesn't even matter. Anyway, my point is, Donald Trump still satisfies the needs of the corporate oligarchs. And this is the reason why this aged well after his election. Holy shit. I mean, everything I've said has aged well. If you go back far enough in time, you will hear me say the same exact things over and over again for the past decade at this point. Okay? Anyway, yeah, I am not wrong, simply too early. History always ends up vindicating me, even though that's not necessarily a good thing, because all the bad things that I predicted end up happening, and that sucks. Anyway, but the point was, at the time, people were making it seem like this was a unique thing, that Donald Trump was a unique and very different type of Republican. And I maintained the position that he was not a unique Republican, but he was very much the logical continuation of Republican mania. Okay, if you were to put, okay, since you refuse to platform any Ukrainians, you should Aaron B yourself, fire, fire, fire. You're worthless, tanky fans too. Ukraine over Palestine? What? I should self-immolate? Are you okay? You got the weirdest haters. It's funny because he's a labor voting Chad. Anyway, Moving on. Probably a British Labour supporter. The other thing I wanted to show you guys, but this analysis was prescient for the time, and it's gotten only worse. But the other thing I wanted to show you was the growth of fascism in this country. This is the reason. This is from Trump's Make America Great Again rally. This is last rally, I believe, before the 2020 election.
Why I closely track Trump's rhetoric and his followers is because I understand the long-term consequences of this kind of messaging being successful, especially within the Republican Party. It's not just about watching like a dude who these hogs find to be charismatic. It's more so about where the Republican Party is going.
I was very tired at this point. Okay, that's why I sound like that.
QAnon stuff, the open agitations towards fascism, white supremacy, all this.
Why are you self-glazing so hard? You think this is self-glazing? No, dude. The analysis remains the same.
Stuff is going to have consequences on every other race that comes after this. No matter what happens tomorrow, America is okay? It's completely like, it's remarkable that he's able to play compilations of Joe Biden slurring and like he was doing earlier today, by the way. That's what he's doing. That's what, I'm not going to put the sound on. We already watched it and laughed at it yesterday. Like, you look at Sarah Palin, you look at the Tea Party movement, AstroTurf by the Koch brothers, and now you look at Donald Trump's rise to success within the Republican Party.
This isn't self-glazing. I'm saying how right I was and still am. No, dumbass, you're failing to comprehend something. Listen to what I'm saying there, okay? Listen to what I'm saying. Just act like I'm just repeating it right now if you want to. There is no way for me to be like, back in 2020, this is what I said, and then repeat the same things as I am repeating it right now, okay? It's important to remember from a different snapshot in time, right before the 2020 election, on the eve of the 2020 election, what the fears I had looked like to see how we got to the position that we got to. This isn't self-glaze. It's no different than looking at news coverage from back in 2020 of anybody else's opinions.
If this does not worry you, with all the white nationalist, white supremacist militias gaining ground, with all of these hogs, no matter how much Donald Trump hurts them, still passionately agitating for him and advocating for him, this is irreparable harm. This is damage that's not going away. Doesn't matter if Biden can captivate some suburban moms who are sick and tired of how rude Donald Trump is on television. Doesn't matter how many wine moms choose to vote for Biden over Donald Trump. None of it matters. What matters is how much the radical elements within the right are being hugged and carried and emboldened and legitimized by the Republican Party machine. QAnon is not an accident. The 3%ers are not an accident. The Oath Keepers, the Proud Boys. These people didn't start doing what they've been doing for the past 4 years overnight. This shit is terrifying, dude. And it's not only terrifying because Republicans are totally on board with this kind of fascist agitation, but it's also terrifying because the Democrats only artificially stand in opposition to it. They don't like the rudeness of fascism. If it came in a more presentable format, I think it would be more palatable to a lot of Americans. And what I mean by that is, think about Amy Coney Barrett. Amy Coney Barrett was successfully, and I think correctly, portrayed as a villain in the media leading up to her hearings. Now, these hearings were largely theater. It was political theater. It was nonsense. They didn't even need to have those hearings at all. Didn't really matter. She saw a 16-point swing after those hearings in her approval ratings. Because for a lot of these older Americans and a lot of these like lifelong Democratic voters, Aesthetics are all that matters. If you are a presentable Catholic woman with adopted children and a Pilates body, an accomplished woman, it doesn't matter if you're agitating for a theocratic autocracy. Like, it doesn't matter if you are literally playing a fundamental role in the highest court, the most powerful. You're one of the most powerful 9 people in the country, if not the planet. They just care about her being nice and kind and presentable. That's terrifying. Democrats need to figure this shit out. They need to open the floodgates to the progressive momentum. They need to allow more AOCs into the party. They need to welcome radicals like even myself and others like me that speak to a younger generation and our frustrations and our anxieties. They need to start legislating appropriately. Or, I mean, what am I saying? It doesn't even matter. It's far too late, in my opinion. Even if they did. No, I'm not saying I'm going to run for office. I'm never going to do that. I mean, like, be more welcoming instead of hostile to anti-capitalist ideas. They're never going to do it because I'm afraid the tankies and the Marxist-Leninists and the theory nerds are right. It is still a bourgeois democracy, and they are a bourgeois party. And they are always going to put the interests of capital over the interests of the American working class. Definitely not the international working class ever. But at the very least, in this stage, they should be open-minded to social democratic reform, dude. It's really bad. Like, we shouldn't go through another fascist resurgence globally or have another Great Depression until we wisen up and push through another comprehensive New Deal style social democratic reform package. Like, why does it always have to get to that? So much human suffering and misery. And only then do people say, all right, I guess, whatever, you'll get Medicare for all. Or I guess you'll get Social Security. Yeah, the thing is, like, I feel optimistic. Or not optimistic. I think Biden is going to win. I'm still fearful because 2016 has broken my brain, okay? I will never be, and I said this before, and I will say it again, I'm not going to be confident or comfortable until Donald Trump is out of office, okay? Until I'm watching Biden or whoever the at inauguration that's not Donald Trump gets sworn into office. I'm not happy. I'm not confident. Tomorrow we're going to look at, like, we'll do more poll focused coverage tomorrow, a little bit in the earlier side of things.
What a liar, dude. What a Weasley little liar, dude. What a
Anyway.
Weasley little liar, dude. Holy dude. Holy
Old outro.
Imagine the Green Party wins. Yeah, that's not going to happen.
I'm saying it. America deserves love. I'm saying it.
Trump supporters are rallying right by the polls and the police are doing nothing about it.
America
I mean, that stuff is not that scary. Like,
America deserves happiness.
Like, all right, I'll just say this. Hold on before I end it. Look, the voter intimidation, voter suppression at the polls is nowhere near as scary to me as purging mail-in ballots. And the reason why is because there's 92 million votes that have cast already. Okay? So if you find a way to those votes up, if you find a way to purge those votes, that's an infinitely more significant number of votes that you can very easily and very quickly dispose of, rather than the limited amount of people that are going to go out and vote on election day. Or because a lot of the people that vote on election day, my speculation always has been, is going to be Republican. Democrats have voted already. And also, if you guys haven't voted yet, obviously go out and vote tomorrow. No matter what, nobody should threaten you from voting. Nobody should stop you from voting. Go out, cast that same day vote. You know what I'm saying? I feel like most of you guys who voted already voted. I haven't even really done a get out to vote on the day of because we've been talking about voting for so long. Look, definitely go out and vote. Like, it doesn't matter. Voting for Biden or voting for whoever the you want to vote or the presidential is nowhere near as immediately consequential to you as voting down ballot. This is what I always have said, and this is what I'll continue saying. But while you're there, if you're a leftist, if you're a progressive, it's not that hard to vote for Joe Biden. It sucks.
You seem drunk as yeah, this was like 16 hours of coverage every single time, every single day. This is one day before the 2020 election.
Your vote might change something. It might not. It doesn't really matter. But definitely go out and vote. 100%. At least tomorrow, we'll be a little bit closer to figuring out what's going to happen in the next 4 years, you know?
Anyway, this period was my time of radicalization. Yeah, I'm a much healthier person now, both mentally and also physically. Anyway, saying the same thing for 4+ years, 4+, more like 10+. That's why I always laugh when people are like, dog, you've changed. It's like, I certainly have not. I showed you something from 2019. I showed you another thing from 2020. My takes have been consistent. It's almost been a decade at this point because the truth doesn't change, because the problems don't change, you know, and the solutions to those existing problems does not change either. It's unfortunate, but you know, I'll keep repeating it. I'll keep repeating it no matter what. Anyway, you've refined your language to be more precise and reach a broader audience, but the message remains the same. Yes. It's gotten, you have been saying, I've done this for the 10+ years for 4 years now. Yeah. It is what it is. Anyway,